Welcome back to Fire Pit TCGs. I am Hellfire, and this is round 5 of the Vegas WIXOSS GP. And I'm joined by Andrew of Life Burst Podcast, who just so happens to be playing this round. Funny enough. So, I know the outcome of this match already. You know the outcome of this match already.
It's true. Well, no, I don't know the outcome. What could it be?
But for reviews out there, we'll be doing post-commentary on this, so if you see a lot of replays and you see a lot of other stuff, it's because we have a lot more freedom to do this kind of thing compared to the live GPs that I have done in the past, or that have been done in the past, excuse me. We're just gonna go ahead and get this thing started. So from round 4, we know Andrew is on WUB Tama, and this match is to be our second place or runner-up is against Deus Atoms, which from conversation before, I do realize that we didn't expect this. Funny enough, we actually did not expect this to a degree, but it is a consistent deck for the most part.
I actually expected it to a higher degree, and then just didn't really see it other than from the Japanese players here. But it's a consistent deck, and I think it's actually very strong. I knew I had a 50-50 matchup against it, but I didn't know exactly how to go against it, because I haven't played any of the Japanese... Here's the thing, the Japanese players actually play slightly differently than the American players in terms of actual playstyle, and it kind of throws off really highly tuned players, because we're used to a certain way of them doing it as Americans. Like, so for example, the GA play here is a little... usually you don't see that with the Americans here, because it's usually kind of one of those plays that you try to put down the multicolors so that way you can get early black enter. But clearly he's actually got his early black from the Maho, which isn't Atoms, surprisingly. I completely forgot that for a while.
I honestly did not think about that being Atoms myself, but she does have the natural element in her name. We did see the random drain discard for the Madoka float. I think I saw a servant actually in that draw. I'm not going to rewind this to figure it out, but...
So this was a little bit of a servant-filled game, but I also, for what it's worth, did try to make a joke here to say, Georgia, and then realized he had no clue about American geography.
Yes.
And then went, yep, good play.
Yep, good play. So, grow to 1. Looks like you intercharged. I actually can't tell that from here. It does have a burst. Damn glare.
Ishikiri.
Ishikiri Mario, right.
Yeah, my hand at this point was filled with a lot of white walls, and I was considering going pretty white wall heavy, but then there is a thing here with against Deus Atoms. If you can strip their hand very early, not turn 3 on, but very, very early, you can make it so that way they have a really uncomfortable turn 2, turn 3. And inevitably that's what I went with going here. We don't hear the audio, but he actually he was like kind of groaning a lot when I put down the double monoman, so I thought I was onto something here. There is some amount of visual body cues that you can get from playing, and I thought, okay, then this must be the plays to get him down to no cards in hand, and it did actually help.
Yep. So Tokiyuki discard to
Monoman number 1.
Monomines. Looks like he's stuck on what to discard. He wants to keep all the cards in his hand, which I totally am. Discarding a random drain. You're discarding your own self, so why would he keep the random drain? Discard another Gallium for the Exia Ditch for the second Monomine. So passing this here, there's no real attack-based stuff other than, I think his deck was running Xeno? Yeah, his deck was running Xeno. So if he decides to Xeno here, that's one thing.
The joke too is, so you saw me keep my hand over. I went, okay, you can play your Xeno cluster now if you'd like. he laughed and was like, yes.
Yep, Xeno cluster immediately. Just going to go ahead and might as well get it out of the way now.
The idea too was if you can strip a Deus player from at least one, like if you make them Xeno card cluster really early, it means that they really can't use their second piece because they have to hold their second piece for their ability.
Yeah. Servant and H2O burst. So the Servant's going to get back a Gallium. Already seeing all 4 copies of Gallium out. So, I think at this point, yeah.
It is one of the worst things is when, as an Atoms player, when you see all your Galliums, because you really want black Enter, and if you look at the Enter right now, there's a Servant in there for sure, but there's really barely any black Enter, and the deck is very light on black.
Mm-hmm. But you still have enough to do the grow to Deuce 2. That's what matters in the end.
Yeah,
and then getting the rest for later. So opting to pay for the Servant here to grow into the Deuce 2.
Yeah.
Which is, it's fair. You want more blue enter than anything. Very rarely do you ever need black enter for anything. I think at most if he's... I think he was using... No, he wasn't using Bind. He was using Smash. So you need at least like one black enter max, so... Woohoo.
See the risk that I took there by stripping his hand down, and inevitably I think the walls would have been better. He hit the life burst to draw him cards. He also crucially hit that H2O life burst to draw more cards, and enabled him to undo basically what I did. So I really didn't love that. He was like, I should have just went with the heavy like stuff, make him discard himself with him having to do a PA to kill my 8000s level ones. Yeah. So this is the crackback where I get punished for it.
Yeah. And that helium is very... A lot of people don't think about it, but the helium is a very scary card, because you just go, do I get rid of it and make a hole, and then not be able to attack with my Rig?
So you see me hit a life burst here for a Servant life burst, and I kind of hit all my life bursts in the wrong order, so I draw some extra cards.
Yeah.
That's it, though. Which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. You were saying about the helium. The helium is awkward because it sticks on the field for a while, but when I played a bunch with the Atoms deck, when I was testing for it specifically, I found the deck that it was best against was aggro decks, notably Dash Harana.
Mm-hmm.
Against Tama, you just ignore it. You just go, okay, cool, I'm going to do my Tama thing, and just... Yeah, actually, one of the worst things is it's 8,000 power, so you can kind of attack into it if it's in the center lane with Bruno if you wanted to, or you can actually work around it often because it's just so big. Right. It also is awkward for the opponents because if they were trying to enter starve you, they can't really attack into it easy, and the Tama actually has the ability to flip life burst that say vanish target upped, so if they don't attack with it, you end up, banishing something anyways, or bouncing something.
Yeah, that's seems to be the most of the thing. I remember looking at your list, a lot of your life bursts, at least half of your life bursts being white. Well, the non-servant bursts, I should say, technically speaking. They all deal with something related to upped. So, I mean, you do have the bucklers for, like, the bigger, heavier removal, so double random drain here.
Well, that one was pretty sweet. What ended up happening was I random drained into a random drain and went, yeah, that's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Because I already committed to this discard thing, right? So, like, he refilled his hand, but I did get the Xenocluster out of it. That's kind of huge. So I knew that I would have to get more discard to get into it and play basically like a blue deck instead of a white deck at this point. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being fine. Like, I mean, he's down to 3 cards in hand. The more important thing is H2Os become really awkward when that happens because what they grow on is difficult, right? Like, you're losing a card in hand.
So, realistically, I'm already going to go on a limb and say he has a black card in his hand for enter charging from hand just to get to his Deuce 3, because I don't know what play you make here, but I don't think you have, with the exception, not even like Ishikiri Maru can help you here, especially at level 2. You don't have a way besides answering Buckler with your own Buckler to be able to clear that lane, so he's probably banking on that to save damage.
And it's correct. So you see here too, what ended up happening was I was tanking a little bit on what should I do. I drew a bunch of cards, but I didn't get any servants. And I'm actually a fan of using Super Celestia Saber really early if I have to. Very rarely do most Esper decks do that. Just because I'm in this scenario here where I need to save on enter. I'm sorry, not save on enter. I need to save on damage. Because I got cracked so hard on that previous turn that I absolutely need to just guard every turn if possible. So I'm using the enter to do it. One of the cool things too is I just put down a wall, right? Wall. The guy, he looked at it and went, "Ooh, that's a big field." And then I know my Bruno is definitely able to die, but I've already committed so hard to the discard here. Bringing him down to 2 cards is great. Like if I can force him to use his once a game ability next turn, or the turn after, I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
so
he's already used his Xenocluster, which in most any of the DXM centers, they have a main piece that they want to see, and then they have a main piece that they want to see and use, and then they have a dud piece. And most often than not, the Xenocluster, especially in the Deus Atoms, is the dud piece, because if your opponent's not playing in discard, you're still going to get 3 cards off of removing it from your Larig deck anyways. Yeah,
and something cool that you see last turn that people don't often do is you see the Tuyoki in full effect here. I attacked with both Tuyokis. They're 3,000 power on my turn.
Yeah, because during your opponent's turn, they get 5k.
Yeah, so I'm minimizing my risk by doing that.
Mm-hmm. And he did intercharge out the Buckler as expected. Basically, that he was guaranteed to have that black enter one way or another.
Yep, it's exactly that.
It still has the helium and the gallium, so any H2Os is just free rise territory. Ideally, you still want to get them on the H2s.
Yeah, but there is a good thing happening here. Look at his enter. See that there's no black in there right now. Look at his assists, since he hasn't gone to level 2 of Machina yet. Meaning that even though I put hard hand pressure on him, currently he cannot bring the card back from his trash to his hand.
Right. So it's now a case of, does he want to use it? Does he want to use the smash to clear a lane and accept the fact you're not getting the full value out of the smash?
Yep.
Or, because I can't tell how many plazas. I think he's at like 4 here. Oh, we're going to Lucifer once per turn trash into a BP and just use the BP to clear.
Yeah, but you'll notice he'll have no cards in hand now after this, which was sort of what I was getting at.
He has 1. Off to the side, he still has 1. Whether he forgot about it or not, it's a different story. But he's just going to attach the soul. Attach the soul as he should. Yeah, he still has the 2 cards in hand. I saw the 2 cards.
Yeah.
But he's running out of resources in hand very fast.
One of the things I noticed too that was pretty successful is you'll notice that he did H2O enter once, and then he discarded 2 H2Os, which I loved seeing. He did play very clever with his Lucifer in order to basically open up my field still, but even then he was kind of tanking when I was playing him, because the Tuyokis are still annoying there. Like, yeah, the soul cleanly does it, but I have a clean answer to the GA, which is right here in the Machina. So I'll kill off the GA because Esper decks have a hard time with dealing with cards long term. They sort of stay on the field for a while, and I was debating whether or not it was correct to do it for kill the soul here or kill the Lucifer and then leave the Lucifer on the field for a while. I decided to leave the Lucifer because it was doing the least amount of damage to me, in terms of opening lanes. My life bursts weren't helping me out here. I got them very late. Here comes the rain drain.
I do think in the short term, well, I have to see how the rest of this game plays out, but I do believe in the short term, the correct play was to get rid of the 1, or of the Deuce 1.
Yep.
Because that would have been that would have been 3 damage, plus Larig attack. That would have put you down to already one card in Life Cloth. No, no, that's a lie. You still would have been at 2 because the random drain would have saved you 1 of them. So
yeah, sometimes you debate whether to do the soul or not. It really depends on your enter. He was pretty committed to giving me enter, so I didn't mind getting rid of it. But sometimes you leave the thing with the soul so that way it vanishes the thing on the field rather than an open lane. That was an option here, but I ended up not going for that. And freezing the Lucifer was really beneficial to me. I was trying to bait him into entering his Lucifer. I think eventually he does. But the idea here was, if I can't get rid of that Lucifer on my own, I can ask my opponent to do it.
Yeah. And honestly, I could see why he wouldn't want to get rid of the Lucifer, because it is a free minus 4K the longer it stays on the field, because he has 2 black Lyrics. And not to mention, it's there's another black card I want in my trash. I'm just going to discard these 2 other cards and get rid of it. So, realistically, actually thinking about it, I probably would have smashed the Lucifer. Actually, thinking about it, because, like, long term, that Lucifer is more and more dangerous the longer it stays on the field.
That's true. I didn't know I had the freeze. If I like had the mental wherewithal to think about the freeze, I probably could have smashed that and freezed the soul, because the soul, I mean, it's useless if it can't attack, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't, my deck doesn't play a lot of freeze. It's really only those life bursts.
Mm-hmm.
But inevitably that probably would have been the better play in if I knew that was upcoming.
Yeah.
However, it still ends up working out for me. I all I'm doing is now in my head I'm like, okay, so there's going to be a negative 4,000 on my field at some point, so I just need to work around that. And it's not the worst to work around it. He still makes it work for him. So don't get me wrong, but like
right.
I found some ways to sort of like solidify those types of things. As far as what I need to do here at this turn 3, this is where it gets a little more difficult, because the options are either putting out Remembers and taxing, which is one of the reasons too that I did the way that I did it, is because I was trying to tax a little bit more. And if you play Remember, it becomes really hard for the opponent to deal with. Then the other thing that I did was I could have done is Exia and then cut the damage down a little bit. See, I'm at 2 life cloth. You see me poking it often because I'm like, this is kind of dangerous place to be at, is with 2 life cloth. So I'm just sort of like figuring out what my moves need to be. How do I try to win on this next turn? Because I know I can't win on this turn. But when you see yourself down to that low of life cloth against a deck that can open lanes, you basically say, I have to figure out a way to win in these next 2 turns, because I can't do the stall thing anymore. I have to turn into a mid-range deck.
Yeah, because the minute he decides to go for the deuce, yeah, see the double Remember play here. Definitely trying to go for the taxing play, not opting to kill that, just double checking the life cloth.
Yeah, you know, that's how it is sometimes. I respected the fact that he had Smash open still, and I really wanted the tax to stick around.
Yeah,
so
no, that's fair, because these are 15Ks now.
Yeah. Because again, it's so difficult. The other thing too is he still has a soul, and he hasn't used his once per game action. He's only got a single card in his hand, plus a frozen Signy on the field. So it's difficult for him to do anything without using his once per game. So if he uses his once per game, he loses 2 enter here. If he loses 2 enter here, potentially I win the longer turn here on the following turn, where he's not going to be able to he's not going to be able to clap down 2 things. He'll only be able to clap down 1.
Hell, if he even tries to go for the Lucifer play here, he has to pay 2 additional Signy.
That's correct,
anyways, to even recur anything from his trash that you'd want to recur. So we see the random drain burst into Tokiyuki's. Discarding. This is the rough part when you want you don't need that card. Why were you thinking? So Tama not doing the other stuff. Just taking the H2 like a champ. Down to 2 life cloth, it seems, here.
He's incredibly patient with his assists, and it was infuriating for me, because I was like, stop taking the damage, use the assists on the baits that I'm giving you.
So a lot of the things I've learned from the Japanese players, and spoilers if you're watching these rounds in order, a lot of these plays that the Japanese players are making are pointed out in the finals video, because there's a lot of play that they make that you wouldn't really expect out of somebody here in the States. Like, sitting on the assists here, you're just like, come on, use the spash, stop my damage. Where they're probably just sitting here like, I don't die here, why would I use my assist? Hit me, fool.
Yeah, there's basically 2 lines of thinking, right? Like, one, you use your quick L-rig early in order to set up your 3-3-1 play. or you don't, and you go with a 3-2-1 play. The Atoms deck actually, weirdly, is able to do that a little bit more efficiently than these other decks, because Atoms, generally speaking, plays 20 level 1s, which is a huge amount, right? Mm-hmm. It's because they've got so many Rise Signy that you've got to basically play around with your level 1 count to make it work. And that's sort of their secret sauce. But they also have value level 2 plays. Most WIXOSS decks don't have value level 2 plays.
Well, yeah,
you'll see that
BP is like the biggest one, and Maho now, actually.
Yeah, Maho is not the greatest concern. Basically, when an opponent plays the Maho against you, you say, "Ooh, okay, they're gonna mill me out," and then you just accept the fact that you will be refreshed once with this deck, and you never discard to it. The only time you ever discard to it is if you look at your mount and you say, "I've got 17 cards left in my deck when this comes out," and because of that, I can take one attack and do the discard and I'll be fine. I won't mill it. I was terrified of Death Deck, but I felt a little bit better because specifically I made him use the early Xenocluster, so Death Deck would be less effective versus me.
Yeah, Death Deck is still kind of terrifying to worry about, in all honesty. So we see Oigona here, discarded Bernicius. Minus,
by the way.
Getting rid of minus, I think it's like 2k for Oigona. Excuse me for being ignorant on my cards. I am sorry. I am bad.
It's minus 3k. Minus 3k.
Yeah, minus 3 cards. 3k. Equipping Deuce Shield to it. Oh boy.
Yeah, basically you have to do the math very, very strangely here because of the Lucifer, because of the Oigona, but also because I'm not letting you get stuff from your trash with the once per game effect. If you do once per game here, you really are losing a lot of Enter. The thing is, he was really conservative with his Enter. I normally you can tax them a little bit better.
So I'm actually going to, this actually be the first rewind of this video. I want to see what he paid out for the Remembers. Or what he paid out for the Remember tax. So he's going to pay out a random drain.
He also paid out a card.
What was the other one he paid out?
Let's rewind again. Maybe he didn't do the double pay, which if he didn't, that's my fault for not catching.
So looks like this is still the beginning of the turn before the Oigona play. Enter charges the Pallium, or the PA. I don't know what element it is. I'm no chemist. Oigona.
Discard to the -3.
Yep. He's going to pay 1 to equip. Yeah, so he didn't pay 2.
Didn't pay the full
on the Remember, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is my fault for not catching it, just to be clear here. I don't think it's going to affect the game in the end, because I believe it didn't go down to 0 Enter. If it does, well, that's that, you know? You gotta catch your own triggers here.
Yeah. And it's one of those, as been stated, yes, it's unfortunate in this, like, sometimes you see these in hindsight, it's just like, oh, shoot, whoops, but yeah, I see what you mentioned here with the weird math, because you got the -2k for anything in front of it, the -3, and then the Lucifer -4. So it's just like a weird ass. It's a weird ass like -8k, but it works the way it needs to.
And also, you know, the thing that was a little distracting in this game too is the so there's the language barrier. You know, we couldn't really talk to each other. That's why you see a lot of hand signs getting floated around. But also, this game went to almost to time. We've had a minute left when it finished.
Oh, wow.
So it was, I mean, complex board states all around, you know, that was the whole thing with the double Remembers.
Looks like, from a quick glance, 11 to 12 cards in deck, so an Ush here from you isn't going to... It'll put him down to whatever he draws is going to at least get rid of 1 Life Claw. So...
Right, and I asked how many cards he had in trash as well, because I need to play around the Death deck as well.
Yeah. So Phalaris, I'm surprised I figured out that was Phalaris because the alt art still throws me off. Exia, why could that be in a different order?
It's a little backward.
Why could that be in a different order? Wait, how did your Remember get vanished? Excuse me, did I miss something?
Because it got a negative effect from the attack, and then the BP killed it.
Oh, yeah, right. Because Deuce
Again, it's these scenarios that with the double remember, which is the reason why I didn't play the Atoms deck inevitably. Double remember just makes this deck almost impossible to pilot.
Yeah. So still 2 life cloth. If it's 12 cards, if it's 12 cards here, an Ush here would definitely like make the death deck extremely awkward because you're not getting anything minus except for the 12k.
Yeah, no, I have no life bursts anyways, or life cloth left, so the death deck is fine at this point. I've already used the Super Celestia Saber, so there's very few things I need to worry about. I also kept my Enter a little stocked with some goodies in case I, did get refreshed. So you'll see that there's actually some meta relevant cards in that Enter zone.
Yep, staring you down, Exias, and remember, Endgame Bolg. We don't care about Valaris anymore at this point, because it's do or die time, since you are 0 to his 2.
Yep, and this is it, right? Like, so I have to figure out how to win on this turn. And I'm mumbling to myself in English, because I'm like, well, he doesn't really know English, so I can actually get away with mumbling to myself trying to figure this out.
Toxic. Imagine not mumbling to yourself in Japanese. Your opponent can also mumble "shut up" at the same time.
A little threat too. He had on a sign that said, "I speak very little English."
I am Japanese because he spelled Japanese. The English spelling of Japanese wrong. It was so good.
Maybe he was just pro level strat, knew English, and was like, "Oh, I know how to win now." He just told me.
He didn't know that much English, but so you weren't there for this, but it is mentioned. I believe. I don't remember. I have to rewatch the recording. The sign that he's wearing was like as soon as he made it to the finals. Since he was playing against another fellow Japanese player, he just ripped it off, balled it up, and threw it away. It was so legendary. Okay, so Zirconium here.
You're about to see me move pretty.
Harmony.
I do catch my harmony in a second. Hold on. It will happen. Just so you know.
Thank you.
But I'm moving at the speed of light because we've got 2 minutes left, and I pointed it out to my opponent too. So he kind of gave me the nod and was like, "Yeah, move quickly." And so what ended up happening here is I'm moving quickly because I did all sort of the play in my head very quickly about how to do this. He didn't have enough in his deck to refresh him out immediately, so I wasn't killing him right off the bat with that. I needed the ZR to kill something in front of it in order to do this. I'm doing the math here. I'm like, okay, so I can once per game. I can potentially. I can't refresh, which blows. I've got my Remember, which should be able to attacks here, and I'm just going to be able to push some damage. I have enough damage in the field here to win the game, so long as he's not able to stop me. It really was the lack of refresh that made it so it wasn't possible, because I have 1, 2, 3 damage, and I needed to do 3 damage. If I didn't get that, I actually should be fine here. So you see me go ahead and do the Remember thing anyways, attacking 0 life cloth. He laughed at that. But it's just to keep the tax up with the what do you call it? With the Machina being available.
I'm still staring at the Zirconium with a missed harmony cost, which, by the way, I'll say this every time. It is totally fair to tell your opponent to down the harmony if they do anything after playing it, because they've opted to not pay the cost at this point. But we understand this for the sake of time, and to my understanding, it's what the players want to do, right?
I'll also take a tit for tat here, right? Like there was a missed Remember cost as well. So
it's only
we're just talking about the time setting this out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you catch these things in post-recording because heat of the moment, you don't really notice these things because you're trying to, you've got numbers and you've got plays running through your heads. You don't think about this bolded text that says down Larig on field. So looks like he's going for the smash play here. And Sayonara Zirconium. So is what it is. Wait, why did you down it? Shouldn't it be dead?
Oh, it's gonna be dead in a second. I think he points it to it and he's like, it's dead. I also think I was thinking he also pointed at his Madoka at one point. I think I got confused as to which trigger it was going.
Yeah, that would do it. So anyways, the Zirconium's finally been downed because of failed harmony costs.
Sure.
I'm going to be riding on this for a while, I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. Yeah, the Zirconium's about to be dead. I did once per game here, so I still have the double attack on my what do you call it? On my Tama here.
Yeah, because you can swing here. Oh, dude, this is one hell of a turn right here. Oh boy.
Yeah, he's gonna point out the ZR.
Yep.
ZR's dead.
SMH completely missed it. Completely missed the harmonies. Wow, misleading the player, but it's. I'm giving you crap at that point. So yeah, you get the restand for the Tama, pay for the Tama. Burst into Jack Squat and burst into Hareshki Goal. Buy Tokiyuki and
it does hurt. Okay, for what it's worth, I got the open field now, right? And the problem is that Lucifer sticking around for multiple turns, it's not really going to affect anything here, because again, like, Lucifer, he has ways to kill my Remember at this point, and he's got tons of enter.
He has 6 enter right now. It's more than enough to pay for. It's more than enough to pay for Clap at this point. But...
Yeah, and by the way, I want to be clear. We were at like 1 minute and 10 seconds right at this point, right here, and I was like, all right, well, like we're rocketing towards a double loss unless he moves quickly.
Yeah, so you got the full. You have enough cards in hand because you had to discard for turn, I presume. Seeing the Exia and the Buckler discarded, charging the BP. Yeah, you have enough enter for 2-stop on Madoka if he can't kill the Remember. You don't need to worry about discarding cards.
The other thing, too, is I can down his entire field.
Yep. I was like, I don't care what you're doing. Madoka. Madokan. I stretched that one. Please never let me say that again. So 7 enter.
Here's some other fun facts while he's doing math in his head. I also forgot that I was running a Chibis until this very moment, right? Like, I saw the replay and was like, oh, I was running Chibis. I'm not a huge Chibi fan. I actually like the normal level zeros better, and I remember wanting to replace those out, and I just must have forgotten.
Oh. Yeah, I normally just use the Lurker promos since I have the full set of 48, but...
I have the Sleepy, I don't have the Sleepy Tama, but I did have a Halloween Japanese Tama I really wanted to use because it was Pumpkin Tama.
Oh, yeah, I understand why.
We were not allowed to use pumpkin stuff.
I understand why they wouldn't allow the JP zeros, probably because there's like, oh, we have the English producer here at this event, and we would prefer you guys use official cards, kind of thing. Did he use Depth Deck here?
He did not.
He OPG. Oh, he OPG'd it. Oh.
Because he's trying to get this Remember removed, which, I mean, he can, right? Like, I mean, that's what you should be doing. You should be doing that anyways. The Remember is horrible for you. You've got enough enter that it really doesn't matter, right? You've got 6 enter up in there. So you're gonna be able to pay for the Madoka cost regardless on your next turn. Even with the missed enter, he would have been down to 1 enter instead of 0 enter. So it's fine. Inevitably, I'm I'm gonna go ahead and start using some stuff. What I'm trying to do is leave at least one blue in my deck, just in case I need to do the random discard for a ZR if I draw the ZR. And I'm also trying to keep a white so that way I can use the double attack.
Yeah.
And I'm discarding down to do the whole thing. Close lanes. I'd like to keep my Remember. It's good for taxing. So I might as well. And I've got so many cards in hand, it really doesn't matter.
Wait, shouldn't your Remember be dead because he double targeted with Lucifer?
Double targeted with Lucifer, it's still 15k.
Yeah, but that's minus 8k.
Right, but he has not been able to minus 8k, minus 2k.
He death decked something else, didn't he?
No, he didn't death deck. He seeded it away.
Wait, I'm sorry. Don't mind me. Me smart. I was like, wait, shouldn't it be death? Did he death deck it? No, wait. He OPG'd it. We literally just talked about this. Don't mind me. I promise I know what I'm talking about. So go to the next turn. Zirconium. Harmony. Right,
let's see if I do it this time.
Please, for the love of God. Don't make me go on another Harmony rant, please. I don't want to. Oh my God!
I'm a Harmony rant, but I do think I catch it the second time. We'll see in a second.
Please. I know we like scuffed plays, but please.
Regardless of the Harmony mishaps that happen, that's the easy one to catch.
You got it! You got it!
See, I got there.
Redemption arc.
You got there. Regardless of what it is, I needed to try to discard him out so that way he couldn't clap for full effect, and then I could kill him off with it. Really, the thing that really got me was the fact that I could not attack with that Bruno, which means he had a guard in hand probably, and I could not win the game for it because of it.
Yep.
And that was that. If I was able to stop the basically if I was able to discard him down to 0, I would have been able to attack with Tama and win the game. We were down to like 30 seconds now on this one. It was this turn that was the really fast turn. Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, we can just play it outs, go for it. He did the attack here, and I was just like, cool, concede.
Oh my lord. So anyways,
so there's definitely mistakes here that were made on this game, right? Like the missed Harmony as well as the missed thing. He also gives me a Japanese promo here.
Oh yeah, I got a Kamiket 100 promo servant from him.
Yeah, and I bruised through it, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Really, I should be picking here is I should make my wife happy. She likes Christmas, so I ended up taking the Christmas servant.
Yeah.
Choice here.
Good selection. Wonderful way to end that match off. So anyways,
you gotta know, man, I like Tama, but my true center Elrig is Tiffany, and I gotta keep her.
Oh, it's so adorable. Where's the trash can? I need a barf.
It was a really good game. I really was happy playing him. I told him afterwards, after the whole event was over, that I was really excited to play him. He played a little differently than most Americans do, and because of that, it threw me off my game a little bit. And I would have. I think like the way I practiced, I practiced with Atoms being a little bit more aggressive, and I think in America we play Atoms a little bit more aggressive. They play it more as a control deck. And because of that, it ended up being a little wacky. My true disparage was that he always had about 2 cards left in deck, so I could never mill him out. And I also had I couldn't enter starve him out completely, so that was inevitably part of it. I also took a little bit too much early damage. Should I have gone for, instead of the discard route, should I have gone for the more wall up route? I truly believe I might have been able to survive a little bit longer to win the game. Either way, it was a really good game. I'm glad I had it. It taught me some stuff, and I was just happy to have it.
Right.
My one and only loss too, by the way. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes you take these losses with pride, and learn from your mistakes. Like there were definitely some plays that if I were in your shoes, I would have done completely differently. because I see thing that opens holes on cross turn. If I can't get rid of it, I'm getting rid of it right then and there. The rest of it's whatever at that point. And then figure out how to deal with the less threatening stuff later, kind of thing. But from what I remember in your deck list, it is from what I remember in your deck list, anyways, it was already like there weren't that many ways to open holes to begin with because it looked more so the wall up, anyways, than it did to open holes.
With my deck, I ended up deciding to go with more of a wall-up approach, which would come to bite me when I got to top 8, because I went up against a the better stall deck than me. So it was I think it was still the right approach. I played, aside from this deck, I played 5 rounds of aggro, and the walling thing got me to top 8.
Yeah, I mean as it should, because most aggros are only 3k or less, 5k or less. The biggest power reduction in black is like 3k at level 1, 8k max at level 3. Occasionally you find something that's like a random minus 10k for some reason. And
then the life bursts do negative 8k.
Yeah.
So my list ended up being pretty good versus all of that junk. I think I should have probably stayed to my wall stuff rather than getting fancy with the discard, but I almost got there with the discard. It was like a couple, like one H2O life burst off from being really awkward for him when I made him discard.
Right.
But I'm, again, still thrilled with the game. I don't love that I forgot the harmony there and didn't remember the remember tax to point out. Mm-hmm. But that's what happens sometimes. I was actually kind of also focused on being able to say my stuff with hands more than walking them through with my words.
So I do think definitely the harmony would have, if it was remembered. I do know that I know people are probably going to see that and go, wow, and this made it to top 8. So I'm going to put it this way. The Japanese players that were there were very... I can't speak for all of them, but I can at least speak for the ones that I did see play. They were very open to correcting their opponent's mistakes, sometimes even going as far to coaching them during their own turns. Like, they want to play people at their best, so they're going to assume they're playing everything at their best, kind of thing. So they're probably just like, oh, we probably meant to do the harmony, but because of time, we're just shortcutting stuff. That's fine.
And in it's worth, he also forgot the remember stuff. So it's sometimes you miss these things, and without having a judge omnipresent and looking over it, these things can get missed a lot at times. Mm-hmm. There are times on my end of the world too, where you see something and you just sort of correct it as it goes, and you're just good-natured about it. Like, for example, I corrected some people's lack of growth. I've corrected you're technically supposed to up before you do your enter and stuff like that, and I would just poke them and be like, you meant to up your Signias and Elrigs, right? Those kinds of things. Because again, like you said, at these types of play, you're trying to make sure that you're playing a good game as well. Mm-hmm. So you're not necessarily always there to punish your opponents. I had more. This was round 4 too. Round 4 is really where I start being like, okay, now I'll start being stricter on punishing
round 5, right?
For that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, this was round 5, not round 4.
Yeah. So
I know what you mean. But no, all in all, it still seemed like a relatively good game for the most part until, it's just like, oh, I'm going to rip my opponent's hand apart. H2O. Get all my hand back. Thank you. Anyways.
They've also got GA, right? So that puts them at 8 basically ways to get cards back. If you want to add the servants in there, that also counts. So it goes up to 12. It's always a little bit of a roll of a dice there.
Yeah.
But in my testing, it was always kind of worth it because this is a 50-50 matchup. If you can strip their hand and you don't hit one of those life bursts, it drops dramatically for the Atoms player. The Atoms player suddenly is not likely to win at all because they have awkward turn 2s that they can't strike back very hard with. Mm-hmm. And if they do get the life burst that put them back in the game to draw cards, it ends up just going back to 52% on their side of the world. So it's really not that much. Like, the risk versus the reward is actually it's a lot more reward for getting it off than what happens if they just stabilize.
Right. But anyways, so that's going to be it for this video. Once again, I'm Hellfire. This has been this, and thank you, Andrew, for joining me on this one. It was great to hear. It was actually really cool to hear your thoughts on like what you were thinking through the entire game as well. So thank you for joining on this one.
Yeah, of course, anytime, man.
And up next should be round 6 if you're watching these in order. If you just wanted to see this specific match, thank you for watching, and y'all have a good night.
May you always live the life first. Bye!